But what it's all about is this waitlist thing and how we begin that process of waitlisting before we go off and launch, whether it's a course or a service that we're doing, or perhaps it's even a product, a physical product that you can touch and hold that we might be considering launching in the future. And I think that whole waitlist thing is something which we've become very used to. But the main thing is that wait list is very useful for one reason, and we'll look at that very, very shortly. First, if you've never met me before, my name's Dante. I'm a digital educator who can't spell educator, as noted on the screen there. I will update that with multiple small businesses in retail, online coaching, training, and also cafes, if you can imagine. I don't know how I do it all, but I've got really good people. That's pretty much how I do it. My business is Clickstarter Education. I'm also a certified lead trainer for Meta. So I do a few gigs a year with them since, 2019, I think it was. Certified professional with LinkedIn, and also a top voice on LinkedIn, which is, I don't even know how I got it, but I got it. I'm not going to argue with them. And of course, an advisor here with a digital solutions program as well. So thanks for joining me. This will be recorded and you will be given an online guide at the end of this that you'll be able to use to apply the things you've learned here today. So I'm not just going to leave you blind without knowing what you're doing. I'm going to turn off this overhead light because it was actually a little scary. It was making my forehead look very, very shiny, and obviously the rest of my head as well. So launch day, you've got this whole thing coming. You think you're going to launch and then nothing happens. And that's quite often what we do. We do that cold launch of this business or this opportunity or this new thing that we're doing. And we launch cold. We hope that someone notices out there. We put out the social media posts and nothing happens because, well, why would it? Who's going to notice those social media posts anyway, unless you've developed quite a big audience? Just because a new page arrives on the internet, it's not like 1996 where every new page on the internet is something amazing and new, and there's only about 30 other pages on the internet. It's a really risky thing to do, to go out very cold with a new product or service. And what this whole idea of building a wait list is all around you creating the demand instead of chasing the demand, building momentum before you actually launch the thing. So there is an expectation out there that this thing is coming. Anticipation is one of those great things we love about something that's coming. For me, it can be a flavor of ice cream I've never had before. What it can be is, for example, the new drop on my Pixel phone comes every month, and they create anticipation around that. And anticipation doesn't cost you anything. It's the most valuable free thing we can grab onto when it comes to launching a new product or service. And a wait list is how we achieve that. So what is that all about? Well, it's all about little commitments we make long, long before we do the actual launch of that business or the launch of that process or the launch of that product or service. Joining a wait list is a tiny little thing that someone has to do. There's no massive commitment they're making. They're not necessarily signing up for anything other than being told when the thing goes live. Some wait lists I've been on for over a year. There was one product I bought, the Limitless pendant, and it was like a transcribing pendant. It was the whole idea. It would listen to all the things during the day, provide a transcript, and you could basically extract all your meetings into action points and whatnot. And it was a great, great thing. But it took them a year and a half to finally deliver that pendant from the time that I'd first signed up for it, which is a long time. You don't want to probably stretch it out that far. And when they launched it within 6 weeks, they'd sold the product to Meta and said, "Oh, we're closing this down in a year's time." It was crazy. It was just such a lot. That's a disappointment of a launch, to know that it takes not only that long, but it's going to crash within a year as well. Joining a wait list, though, is a tiny thing. Just put in your email address and you are given updates about this. What it does do, though, for your side, it creates a little bit of follow through. It's a small investment of you and a small investment of someone that builds for something down the track. It's the promise of something that is to come. And you've got the opportunity to continue drip feeding that information through to create further excitement as you draw closer to your launch date. It's a far lower barrier than asking someone to buy from you straight away, which makes it a really good initial step rather than having to go, "Hey, buy my stuff" on day one. But also for those of us who are not as comfortable with cold and straight out selling, it actually makes it a little bit more achievable for us because we think, well, I don't feel like I'm a used car salesman trying to convince people to buy something they don't need. What I'm doing here is just testing the market. And that's what really is going on behind the idea of a wait list is you're testing your market. There's another principle at work that helps to build excitement around that thing that you're starting to build. And that's the idea that it's not available. So it creates a sense of what is called scarcity. And that builds true excitement around a product launch. That idea that there's something that's not available yet tends to psychologically make people want it more. There's a scarcity, and you see this with sales all the time, limited time only, or this particular thing, if you can see it through my camera, the Carmen's dark chocolate and cherry coconut bar. It's been available as a limited edition bar from Carmen's for nearly 2 years now. So there's nothing limited edition about it. It's been around for 2 years. Will they move it from the market? I don't know. What they did, though, use this as a test for the market. They created a sense of scarcity to get people into it. I'm into it. It's literally the only bar I ever buy from them. I love it that much. They got me in with the scarcity, and they've kept me because the product itself is so good. The excitement of getting something that others may not be able to get, the exclusivity of that, creates an excitement rather than a frustration, because the wait itself for something you don't need, but that could be useful for you or you would like to have, or it might be a nice to have, creates an excitement towards that launch rather than frustration that you can't buy it now. For these bars, there's nothing about this bar that I need, but it's now part of my weekly shopping trip. I love them. I don't care how much they charge for them. I'm going to buy them every single week because I never get sick of them. So for me, that was nothing that I had to wait for. I just buy it and it's there. Your kind of scarcity when it comes to your wait list is about the idea that no one can get this yet, but you're going to be the first one who's going to be able to access it when it does become available. You're going to be ahead of the curve. You're going to be a trendsetter. You're going to be the early adopter. You're the one who gets to share that with friends. And these things you might think of rather silly, but in human nature, this stuff is all very exciting. It's all very, very engaging. It gets us excited about things. This whole idea of controlled access generally works with psychology that businesses like Carmen's and anyone else who does limited edition or wait lists for new things or pixel drops on the Pixel phone that I've got, they use it deliberately because it does actually create this hunger for this thing. Even though my Pixel drop costs me nothing every month to get, it keeps me engaged with a product like a mobile phone, which otherwise is a pretty boring slab of metal and glass. There's nothing exciting about a mobile phone. It's a utility these days, but it keeps me engaged because, oh, what are they going to release next? So that's a wait list of sorts. This is the one that I really lean into heavily when doing launches. Every sign up tells you that there's someone who wants this. And that is the most important thing for you as a small business owner to get your head around, is that not every idea is a good idea. And every idea needs to be validated. And what we mean by validated means it needs to be proven. We need to prove that there actually is demand for this product. We've got to prove that there actually is people out there who are willing to pay for it. And the first way we test that is with a delayed launch and a wait list, because each one of those signups tells us that somebody cares enough to opt in. And it gives us an idea of just how big that demand is. So if you give yourself a 3-month window with which to do this validation, you have 3 months of data coming in that's telling you, all right, people clearly do want this. And if you're using social media ads to draw that in, or if you're using networking events or webinars, quite often my things are done through webinars, then that gives you 3 months of testing to know this thing can work. People like me, we will run these every week. So I've got about 17 lots of 3 months going on at the same time, that lots of different things are being tested at once, because I can run this through a consistent channel of here's a new idea, test it for 3 months, see the demand. So I'll have 17 different landing pages with 17 different campaigns from 17 different directions coming in. I've got an Adelaide direction. I've got a Perth direction. I've got a Mandurah connection. I've got a Darwin, Catherine, and Alice Springs connection. I've got all these different channels coming through to validate whether this thing is actually desired in that market. And it's way cheaper to test this stuff before you go live than what it is to test it when you go live. And why I say it's cheaper is because you could spend a lot of time and effort building something that no one wants. I learned this mistake very, very, very harshly back in 2016 when I built a particular app that I was convinced that everyone would need. I put it out and no one cared. And even all the marketing I spent $150,000 on building it because it was very expensive to build apps back then. And I spent a heap of money just promoting it. I bought iPads to run it on inside retail store. It just completely failed. I lost all my money. That was a very expensive lesson. Now, knowing what I know now, I would go back and say, let's run a campaign that says this is coming soon. Let us know if you're interested in finding out when this thing comes on. It's going to cost me a lot less. I could take time over that 3 to 6 months to build it, which means I'm not rushing to get it done and pushing developers to work harder and then make more mistakes and then also charge me more. And I can get to use cheaper marketing to bring them in. I can do it through newsletters. I can do it through focus groups. I can do it through webinars. I can do it through social media without actually going and spending advertising money like I did this time around. It's way cheaper to get this stuff done up front what it is to do it when you go live. So you've got to get clear though, before you touch any of these tools that do this kind of thing for you. You've got to know exactly what you want your visitors to do and why. And this means, do you want them to come in through a form to fill out? Do you want lots of information from them? Because the thing is, if you want lots and lots of different information from them, if you want like 7 different fields where they fill out all their preferences and feedback, they're just not going to fill it out, right? If all they have to do is put an email address in, there's no investment from their part to get that. All they're going to do is put an email address in, which they probably automatically do through their browser, and boom, you've got an email address that you can market that through to now. It also means that people give you less information. They're probably a lot less invested in the idea. But at the same time, you don't need people to be super invested at this stage because you haven't even possibly built this out. You've just built an idea and you're testing whether people actually wanted it. I did this. Was it last year? Yeah, it was like last year. So I started in about May 2025, advertising a book that I was writing. So I decided to start promoting the book. Probably it's October I was looking to launch it. So it was like May, June, July, August, September, October. So 5 months. I was giving myself a 5-month window to finish writing the book, publish it online, and then have it ready for release in October. In that 5 months, I had a landing page. I advertised it through all of my newsletters. It was going out through everything. In that, going out to nearly 15,000 people a week, and then however many tens of thousands of people through social media every week as well over 5 months, with only 25 people showing any interest in that book whatsoever, I've got very clear that I didn't need to do this. But all I asked them for was an email address, not a name, nothing else, no information, just an email address so I could let them know when it's released. I never released that. What it showed me was there was pretty much no desire for anyone to read this book apart from a couple of friends who were like, super fans of whatever I was doing. You also need to be very clear on who the specific person is that you're trying to sell this to. If it's a course, who are they? If it's a book, who's the reader? We're not talking about everyone. Everyone doesn't exist. Not everyone, you say, supermarkets are about the only thing that needs to market to everyone, right? What you're doing is marketing to a specific kind of person. Give her or him a name, even if that makes it easier to imagine them, or get very clear on the kind of things they like, they do, and maybe the gender, the age group, maybe an ethnicity that you want to target this towards. What this helps you to do is to make sure that every word you write and every update you send them via email, or even the way you write that landing page, it means that you're doing something specifically for them. Remember I said before, I have about 17 of these things going at once. So one of them is targeting a specific audience of people in a small town called Catherine in the Northern Territory. Now, I traditionally struggle in Catherine. I get lots of people sign up for things when I go there, but they just don't show up. I did something earlier this year, which was just an absolute bust. I had what, 7 people had signed up to do these one-to-one things. They'd gone through the process of going, yes, I'm going to book this a specific time, a specific place on a specific day. One out of those 7 people showed up for their appointments, just one, which is crazy because this is something free that normally would cost them, over $200, and they still didn't turn up. Now, there's a lot of thoughts about that, about, well, that's because you offer things for free. People don't sort of lock in for free. They psychologically think, well, if I don't turn up, I'm not losing anything. And you have some sort of charge and that somehow brings them in. But honestly, that isn't always a guarantee either. What I'm doing is now validating whether I can bother going to Catherine at all in October to do a series of workshops, because I don't want to get 20 people booking for a workshop and one person turns up. That one person gets incredible value, but it also doesn't make it worth my time to go there unless I can build a pipeline of potential clients down the track to work with. So the specific name of the person I've taken from a person that I know there. I know her name. I know what she does. I know what industry she's in. So I'm looking for people who are in that kind of network, not necessarily the industry, but they are female business owners / operators who generally are in family businesses that own it with their husbands. And they may even have kids working in the business. It's generational stuff. Maybe they're the second generation through, or even the first. But I've got a very specific kind of someone that I want to make that go through to, because I know they are the ones that actually do turn up when they book things. Next thing, decide on what you're offering. What are you giving people for the privilege of giving you their email information? They're waiting for this. They're not buying it straight away. There's no reward for them that's implicit in what they're doing here. So what are they getting? Early access? Are they getting some kind of exclusive lead-up content? Discounts? What are you giving them in order to give you that email address or any other information really early? So think about that. What do they get for being an early registrar? Do they just get maybe the release of that thing a week earlier than everybody else? That might be all you need, but there has to be some kind of reward built into it, because we're motivated by fear of missing out, but equally we can be rewarded for something, and we are motivated by getting that reward. If we're expected to delay our gratification of getting the thing, then we've got to kind of give them a reason to hang on. Because giving the email address these days is it seems like a small thing, but actually it's quite large, because we've given our email addresses to many things and we get spammed into oblivion. So let's make sure we give them some reason to hold on that way. I think early access is enough. Rather than discounting what you're doing and messing with your margins and the money, give them early access to say you can come in earlier, or you get a month free or something like that. But rather than a discount, give them extra value. And I think that early access is a good one. You'll get it 2 weeks, a month before everybody else. And be upfront about where you're at building this. And this is very hard for people to do, because they want people to imagine that this thing's sitting there ready and all they're doing is just, creating hype around it. Now, if all your people that you're marketing to are also marketers, that might be the case, but they are everyday people, especially if your specific person is a specific kind of real life person, then be upfront about where you're at. I'm building this amazing thing. I've got the first pieces ready for it, and it's absolutely awesome. And this is going to blow your mind, but it will be ready in October 2026. So what I'm doing now is you get in first as the first person. If you tell me now this is something you think could be interesting by October, and what I'll do is I'll send you through the first pre-release a week before anyone else sees this, so you can get in early. In fact, what I'm going to give you is a 2-for-1 offer, so you and a friend both get access to it, or whatever the particular offer that you're going to be at. But having that stage where you're saying, this thing isn't complete, I am building, rather than I have built, does something really, really interesting. It creates a level of trust. That honesty creates a level of trust that you're a real person doing a real thing. It does a second thing too. You're not just trying to trick them. You haven't built this thing already and you're just delaying gratification. You're saying, yes, it's built, it's ready to go. I'm going to be releasing on this date. Tell them the truth that you are still building it with the writing of the book, I did the same thing. This book is coming out. I'm still writing it. I'm still editing it. I'm still in that stage. And the updates in the email said that as much. And then towards the end, I said, I'm not releasing this because, first of all, not enough people want it. And secondly, I don't actually believe in what I wrote. And that was the honest truth I came up with. So be really upfront about the stage you are of developing this. I am building, or I am developing, or I am growing, rather than I have developed, I have built. Because if they think that, well, if you built it, why are you making me wait 3, 4, 5 months? Give it to me now. And it creates that speed hump of trust. The tier one tool you use if you're doing this just rough and ready, and this is generally how I started as well, is using a form plus a spreadsheet. And this is for testing demand on something new, something local, really simple, zero cost. It works with stuff you already have. You don't have to go buy extra subscriptions. You don't have to do setup fees. You're not committing to tools in order to do this. This will be appropriate for almost all of you, unless you've got, like me, you've got 17 of these things going on. And I've got a system that I use for that called High Level, which does all that for me. I'll talk a bit more about that later. What you get is you get to start it straight away. It's just a spreadsheet of email addresses that you got there. And you don't have to have, if you get 20 people sign up for that, well, 20 people you can email yourself from your Outlook or your Gmail. You don't have to worry about buying email marketing systems. It captures names and emails. It's easy to do that. You get full control to track it on a spreadsheet. And it's allowing you to use things like Google Forms, which are free, or the forms that are built into your website already. Or you can use Tally, or you can use Smartsheets, a free version of it, or just use Microsoft Excel if you want to, Google Sheets. You have everything you need to be able to get that list until that list gets huge. And that list gets to like over 200 people, then you're probably going to need a bit more of a solid system. For most of us, that list is going to be small. It's going to be, most of my lists are no more than 5 to 15 people. That to me is about the size of a workshop. So I go, if 5 to 15 people say they're interested in that workshop in that town, that's enough to make me go there. The second tier is where you have the one-page landing site. These days, it's much easier than it used to be because you can generate these in things like, you can use JavaScript and HTML and all that in AI. So ChatGPT, which most of you will have access to, does a really great job of building websites. What it doesn't do is necessarily link through to your email management system, but it can look really polished. It allows you to build something that looks really nice, really professional, looks trustworthy. It gives you a relatively affordable entry point because making these is rather simple. You can use particular landing page systems which will do this. You can do it in something like ChatGPT and then use that code and put it into a website that's hosted on a free hosting service like Cloudflare. So you might be able to do that. Or if you've already got a website that you use, just create another page within your website, which is either linked through your navigation or not. I don't link my landing pages through to my navigation on my website. I just put them in what I call ghost pages. They exist, but no one can see them from the front page. They exist so that Google and all that can see them. And also, they're not appropriate to the other products I'm selling. They're just a secondary thing. This suits the one-person business owner. They want the right look. They want the right feel, but they don't need the complexity of a full system. They're still just collecting a whole bunch of email addresses that are largely going to go into something like a Google Sheet or a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet or a PDF that's just a list of email addresses. You're not really going into this automated sales funnel kind of thing where you're going into High Level or MailerLite or MailChimp or any of those kind of things. The third tool, though, is the bigger thing. This is what I'm using, right? Where you've got referral tracking built in. So you've got the ability to be able to track where these people came in from. So they come from Facebook ad, do they come from another website, do they come from another email? It allows you to, what they call queue position mechanics, which is allowing you to go, okay, I've got incentives in here for people to share this with others, and then loops back in and allows them to go, okay, you get extra value now. If you referred 10 people, yours is actually free, that kind of thing. So you got referrals. The viral loop incentive allows people who are early adopters to get in earlier. And so they then, as early adopters, do a lot of the promotion when you finally do go live. They're like influencers. They pick it up and say, look at me. I got it early. I'm going to show everyone how cool I am because I got it early. And the pricing note is that a lot of this changed a lot over the last year. A lot of these systems have gone up quite a lot in cost. My high level system hasn't gone up in cost, but you'll find that the MailChimps, the MailerLites, some of the other ones, Beehive, not so much Substack, but a lot of these email systems have gone up a lot in price. The customer relationship management software gone up a lot in price. Everything's gone up in the world because they spent a whole lot of money adding AI tools that nobody asked for. This kind of thing is worth it if you want to tap into that whole point of viral growth. You want other people to do the promoting for you. So you're adding in incentives for other people to share the news around. This is where you need hundreds of people to validate an idea rather than just, half a dozen people would be enough for you to validate that this has got some kind of demand in there. And this is for things like, for instance, coaches who are selling courses or anyone who's selling courses really, where you need literally hundreds of thousands of people to be aware of what you're doing, to come through your website for maybe a couple of thousand people to put in an email address that may at some point lead to 2 people buying a high ticket program from you. That's a very different thing. And that's very much an elevated thing. And if you're trying to do that kind of thing, well, your wait list is great. This is really good, but you're going to have to spend money on it. So you can't get away with just going, okay, well, I'm going to take 100,000 email addresses and chuck it in a Google Sheet for free and then send it out via my Gmail address. You need to have a whole system in here. That's where your MailChimps, your MailerLites, your Brevo, Beehive, a lot. There's dozens of these systems that will let you do this. My system, high level, that I use, will also do this as well. HubSpot, ConvertKit, or Kit as it's now called, is a great option for this. It's very much made for exactly this thing, where these systems build the landing page, they integrate the form, they have the list in there, and they do the sending of the emails as well. In fact, they'll even automate series of funnel drip campaigns that build people towards when that launch is going to be. So you've got automated content, so you're not always having to do the work yourself. You've got pre-done emails that go out at 7 days, 14 days, 30 days, 90 days, that kind of thing in the lead up to the launch of whatever it is you happen to be launching. So this is a lot more complicated. It takes time to sort of get your head around it, but there's really good systems. Honestly, the best I've seen out there is Kit. It used to be called ConvertKit. It's now called Kit. There's others like, what I'm trying to think of is connected to a lot of Shopify websites. Can't even think of the name of it now. Klaviyo. So Klaviyo is also a very good tool for this, particularly if you're working with a Shopify website, to be able to sell a specific, a physical item rather than courses and knowledge and consultation. Then you got the email platform of the landing pages, which is probably the upper level of what I'm talking about with Kit and Go High Level and Klaviyo and all those. And even HubSpot, Keep, it's KEAP, which is another big one as well. These are those big systems that you're not having to migrate something from one tool into another tool to do the thing. It's hosting it, it's hosting the email address, it's managing the relationship with it, it's pre-setting and pre-scheduling all that sequence of emails that are going out. Is that typical sales funnel thing that people talk about. So that is the ultimate. That's the stuff which, if you need to have the hundreds of thousands of people, or you're doing something like me where you've got 17 different sequences all going at once because you're building demand and building validation for different things, this is the kind of thing you need. So in the previous one, that tier tool, it does have the tracking built into it. It's more of an email system. So it'd be more like your MailChimps, more like your Beehives, where these guys are more the Kits, the Keeps, the HubSpots, the whole customer relationship management database. And you can start with a lot of those. Like HubSpot, you start with that for free. With Kit, you start for free. But as you build up those lists to much bigger and you're taking on more of those features to do everything, for instance, in my high level situation, it hosts all my websites, all my forms, all my email marketing, does all my social media posts, so I can track everything back to what I know is working the best. But that's a $1,200 a year program, right? So I spend a lot of money on that because it actually, frankly, leads to a lot of money coming in. So it's worth it. But for you starting out your first time, it may not be really worth investing quite that level. You could start out with tier one, just a form and a spreadsheet. That is going to be enough for you to test the very first time. Then you got to think of, well, how am I working in the psychology of people who would be potentially interested in what I'm doing? And that's where you're building a landing page or some kind of introduction email that actually converts to people giving their email address to you to put into that list so you can let them know in the future. How we do that is we lead with the outcome. The outcome is, what is the thing, excuse me, what is the thing that's going to happen in their life because they're going to go and get this thing that they're waiting for? So they're waiting for 4 or 5, 6 months to get this thing. What's going to change in their life once they've got it? Because we're looking for something that we want to keep people engaged with, an idea that they can't buy today, but they can look forward to in a few months' time. We've got to give them a reason to believe. And that reason to believe is that their life is going to look better afterwards, whether it's a product, a technical thing, a service that they've never really been able to get before. You've got to give them a picture in their heads of what their life will look like, because people don't generally buy things they don't need out of necessity. They buy it out of an emotional response. They're not even thinking logically when they do that. They don't need it, but it could really help them, so they want it. Keep the sign up form as short as possible. Often it's just an email is enough, but a name could help as well. I would even go so far as to just get the first name. You actually don't need a surname. You just need an email address. But having the first name allows you to have those automated little segments in an email, which goes, hello, insert name here. So it's just the first name. So you really only need the first name. Later on, when they become a customer of yours, you can gather all their information and get what you'd want out of them. You can find out who their name is. Look, quite often, after their Gmail address or their Hotmail address or their Outlook address has got their name in it anyway. So you can drag that out anyway. But really, you don't need to know what's your date of birth, what do you like, what do you dislike, what's your mother's maiden name, how many children you have, how many chickens have you sacrificed to Satan. You don't need any of that sort of stuff. And then we need to make the reward really real. If we promise them, oh, we're going to send you updates, that's not enough to get someone to sign up. It has to be something that's generally worth the effort of signing up. And you think, well, there's no effort. They're just putting an email address in. But they're still going to have to break in their day to stop the thing they're doing right now to make them want to do that. There is an effort involved. It's not, we think it's really trivial for someone to put their email address in, but think about it. How many times do you give some stranger your email address for the promise of something in the future? Not often, right? You might do it once or twice a year. So get inside that psychology and realize that's not something that we do every single day. Also, too, before you let that landing page or form go out there, make sure it works on mobile phones, because so much of this stuff happens on a phone and not on a desktop computer like I'm delivering on today. It usually happens on a phone because that's when we're mobile. That's when we're most open to opportunities coming in, rather than when we're on a desktop computer. We're very task oriented. We're not just browsing. It's not like the 1990s where you're just browsing the internet and surfing the web. What you're doing is you're working on a laptop, but on a phone, it is by and large a distraction device. So people are going to fall into your give me your email trap. It's not a trap, I know. We'll call it, you fall into your email sequence, then you're breaking with their regular things they're doing in the day. Most people don't work on their mobile phones. But once they've signed up, that doesn't mean you just go dead. The single biggest mistake people make, they get all these email addresses and they do nothing with it. Pre-launch audiences open up emails much more regularly than the newsletter audiences. In my newsletter, I might have about a 70% open rate, but for these kind of things, it should go up to nearly 90% of people who signed up will actually open your emails and read them because they actively opted in, and it's a short-term thing, whereas a newsletter is a monthly affair. It happens every month, and people kind of forget. It goes to the back of their mind. They go, oh, I'm not ready for that, and they swipe it away, and they may never see those emails again. But with these launch emails, they're most likely to be opened up. more because they're genuinely interested. And the interest is usually very fresh. It's only a couple of months that you're sort of going for, maybe 2 to 6 months. So you're not engaging them and dragging them along for 2 years. But receptiveness does decay. The longer you leave silence every week, you become irrelevant to them. So, what it is to come in every week with a very small update. This is what we did. It could be that like sharing what you've done so far. This is what we did this week. Here's a photo of me building the thing. Here's an extract from one of the new chapters I wrote for this book, or whatever it is that keeps someone interested in that. And then build a rhythm around your emails. When people join, have almost like an auto response that immediately sends a welcome email. This is where those systems like MailChimp and Keep and HubSpot and it will all come in really handy because that's one of the easiest things to set up. It's an automation when they first sign up. Here is an instant email saying, hey, welcome. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be in touch with you weekly. Hey, make sure you whitelist me in your email. Otherwise, you won't get to see my updates. Then you produce those regular, valuable updates. So it can't just be, hey, we're 2 weeks in, very excited. See you soon. It's got to have something in it. Just like social media, you don't just post rubbish, you post something that has meaning and value to the people who you got waiting for you. So keep them updated on your progress, not just, hey, only 5 weeks to go. This is cool. No one cares. Give them something to read. Keep them informed, keep the excitement alive, and do it maybe every 1 to 2 weeks. I like to do weekly when it's a short run of, say, 3 months, because it's not too heavy. But if it's like 6 months that people are waiting, kick it back to every fortnight. The final week, you start to ramp up, and you may even do it every single day with a just finished this. Oh my God, this is so ready to go. Hey, we've just done this. All right, tomorrow's the day. And then you've built that excitement, but only leave that for the final week where you're spamming them every day because they're going to have very little tolerance to someone completely overtaking their email. Well, you know this every time you sign up to some website for a fashion store. There's very few that I will leave in there. Target and Kmart are two of the only ones who will email me 2 to 3 times a week that I haven't got rid of because there's always something in those damn stores that I'm willing to look at. Whereas if it's like this one place where I bought a t-shirt from once upon a time, I don't want to hear from them ever again because I bought the t-shirt and it sucked. So I never want to hear from them. I usually spam them out. And then on launch day, that's when you have your big announcement. The clear, unmissable, big announcement on launch day that's so easy for them to go click and they buy the thing or they sign up for the thing or they, whatever you need that action to be, it's on. What the engagement actually means in that sort of thing is when you are able to teach the problem, not just the product. So this is when you're coming in saying, my product, which is, let's use my shaker bottle for my protein shaker. I use it for my pre-workouts before gym in the morning. This is a particularly expensive shaker. This is a $40 shaker. Like, that is ridiculous amount to spend on a shaker, and it was a gift to me. I never spent it. But this shaker has become an indispensable part of my day. So you see, the problem with shakers is they've got sharp corners, and protein powders and gunk and mold get caught in the corners, and you're constantly shaking that into your stuff and drinking it. You're drinking bad stuff. So what this is, it's all rounded. The inside's rounded. There's no corners in this. So it's really easy to clean. In fact, what I can do, get home, I rinse it. I don't have to wash it. I just rinse it and it gets everything out. That's the problem, is that shakers stink. Like, you'll know if you've ever been a protein powder consumer, shakers stink of protein after about a week, and you go through them a lot. That's a lot of our landfill. This one I should be able to keep almost indefinitely because it's got no horrid moving parts. It's got a slider, which I can easily slide open the little top bit there and close it. It's got a lot of value to it. But for $40, if I was selling that, I wouldn't be selling the fact that it's a $40 thing with features. I'd be going, shakers suck and they stink. Simple. And they're very unhygienic and bad for you. This gets around that. So that's sharing, teaching the problem, not just the product. And so many people don't even realize that that's a major problem. You've just educated them in that. Ask for people to give you feedback on the journey. Get a short polls, short surveys, make them feel like they're part of this creation project with you, this co-design or co-creation. So they're not just sitting on the sidelines watching you do this. They're actually a part of it. You say, hey, I was going to make this just in pink. What if I did it in teal and also had a really cool purple as well? And vote for the color you want. It gives you valuable data about what you might do, but also it helps you gauge the demand for different colors. I saw that with the Limitless pendant. They released it in, I think, 12 different colors originally, but then they really got down to it. People just wanted black. So what they did is said, hey, if you change your order to black, you'll get it quicker. And so they were able to validate that, get them out there. And the people with the iridescent or the purple or the pink, turns out they produced two colors before they were bought out. And then they produced no more colors again. So, but by then they'd sold tens of thousands of the black and iridescent ones. And then also show some real progress on your project. Whatever you happen to be doing, show the real process along the way. If it's writing, screenshots. If it's building something physically, photos, or even adding in some videos, go, hey, I'm in the workshop right now. Look at what I'm building. This is awesome. If it's a course, screenshot it, that kind of thing to show that, oh, wow, okay, that looks really good. I'm looking forward to that. Give them something to see. Give them milestones, like they're part of this journey with you. They're on your team. They're excited. And you keep them excited by involving them in the project through educating them what the problem is you're solving and reminding of that, because it may not be something that's in the top of their mind every time you open up an email. Get them involved in it by giving them input to the project, and then show how you're going with it all. That's a lot of stuff to take in. So what I've created is this guide for you that contains all of that information. So you can just scan the QR code. You can go straight to that, maybe screenshot this screen so you're able to keep that information. What I'll do in the coming hour, I'll try and get this information out to you. If you registered on Humanitix or through Eventbrite, I'll send this information out to you via links, so you don't have to get too worried about that. You will get this info. But this is how you then take what we've learned and apply it. And I've got some links in there, some of the tools, some of the processes, and the things you should be doing to keep this going. Because honestly, the cold release is just a pathway to failure. I learned that the hard way. It cost me $150,000. I don't make that mistake anymore. You can also get subsidized support to help set this stuff up. For $110, you get up to 5 one-hour sessions with people like me and all of our other advisors on the Australian government's Digital Solutions Program, which is what you've come through on here. Delivered by Busy Business across 3 of the states. It's Queensland, Northern Territory, and WA. And it is available in other states if you've come across this through other providers. The Melbourne Innovation Centre is covering that through Victoria, South Australia, and Tasmania, the Van Diemen Project in Tasmania, and the Adelaide Business Hub in South Australia. And if you're in New South Wales or the ACT, that's covered through the Australian School of Employment, or ASE, Australian School of Employment, and the Canberra Innovation Centre, Canberra Innovation Network, I think it is who handling that in the ACT. Any questions you have at all, please drop them into my LinkedIn. I'm a very easy person to find. I've got a name that stands out like a sore thumb, but you'll see it there. Dante, oh, that's a great face. Thank you, Kerry, for coming up with that face in the middle of all this. That's my profile there, Dante St James. You'll find me really easily here on LinkedIn. And just please connect with me, send me a message, and I'll hopefully answer that for you very, very quickly while I'm forming all this other stuff in the background.